Welcome back, folks. This is Shane. Today we're checking out the Mesa Boogie Fillmore 50 amplifier. Let's take a listen. Welcome back, folks. This is Shane. Today we're checking out the Fillmore 50 from Mesa Boogie. Let's take a look. Here's the amplifier up close. Now, the first thing to point out, the footprint of this amplifier isn't that large, but it's still pretty heavy in true boogie form. Ugh. Yeah, it's got a bit of weight behind it. I'll leave all the specs and links and all that kind of stuff in the description below if you want to find out more about this on a technical level. Some of the cool things about it is it's a 50-watt amplifier. They can also switch down to 25 watts, so that's pretty sweet. It also has 3 channels on each channel. So one channel over here is exactly the same as one channel over here, and you get a toggle switch that you can set up clean, drive, or high gain, and you can do the same on the other channel. So I think that's really cool. It means you can find your favorite setting on one channel, replicate it on the other, and just turn up the drive and the gain, or you can run it completely different and have this as a dedicated clean channel and have this as a solo channel or anything in between. So I think that's really cool. In the back of the amplifier, we have one of the Black Widow speakers. It has a huge magnet, and I'm pretty sure that would be what is taking up a lot of the weight in this amp. It is really quite heavy, and this magnet on the back of the Black Widow, like all of their speakers, is nice and chunky. In the back of the amplifier, we also have 2 6L6 output tubes, and we have 5 12AX7s, and the reverb is a tube-driven spring reverb. Firstly, a massive thanks goes out to my friend Dave K, who you've seen on the YouTube channel, for letting me borrow this. We did a podcast together. If you missed that, I'll leave a link up in the cards and you can check that out. He's got some really great amplifiers and guitars and all that kind of stuff, and he was nice enough to let me borrow this for a video review, and I hope you like this. So if you do enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up. Let's get into it. Alright, let's get into it. Today I'm playing the Gibson Flying V. This is a 2019 model. It's all stock. We're going to start on the high gain channel, then try the drive channel, then over to clean last. I'm going to mix it up and go in the reverse order. This is the Gibson Flying V, and this is the same settings that you heard in the solo, except you're going to be hearing this now just on its own. I got the amp mic'd up with an SM57 and a Sennheiser E906. Here we go. This is neck. I got my earplugs in, and that's loud. Over to bridge. Man, oh man. And now with the gain down at about 12 o'clock, let's give this a shot. So it's still got plenty of drive. Let's try this now with the volume control down, just for some single note stuff. And back up. Now, as you can hear, unlike a lot of the modern type of Mesa Boogie amplifiers, this one doesn't go crazy metal or anything like that. It's still high gain, but it's more of that classic rock sort of distortion tone, as opposed to something that you could gent with, because I can't gent to save myself. So, and now over to a lower gain drive channel with the gain at 12 o'clock. Everything else is still set the same. We'll start on bridge pickup this time. Here we go. Try that with the Strat. Let's try exactly the same settings now on my Mexican standard Stratocaster from a few years back. This is all stock as well. Bridge pickup. Over to neck. So it's probably got just a little bit too much drive for the kind of blues tone I like, so I'm going to back the gain off, and then I'm going to turn up the master volume a little bit. I'm also going to just bring up the bass and the mids just that little bit more as well. Let's try this with some single note stuff. Over to the clean channel of the Boogie, and being that this isn't one of those sort of modern voiced amplifiers, this clean channel actually doesn't really have that sterile sound I've heard in some of the other amplifiers. It sounds very close to kind of like a Fender Princeton. It has that kind of vibe with a little bit more of a push. Definitely doesn't sound as big, in my opinion, as my Blues Deluxe reissue, which is somewhere. So let's give this a shot. This is bridge and middle. It's a really nice tone. Over to neck. Now I gotta tell you, I don't feel like this is the loudest 50 watt amp either. That's up, you know, I've got this cranked the masters on 2 o'clock and the gain is up at about 11 o'clock. It's still pretty loud, but it doesn't quite feel like a 50 watt amp in my opinion. It's just one of those things. I'm used to hearing my Marshall in this room and that's devastatingly loud. So yeah, it might not be the most efficient sort of 50 watts I've ever played, but it sounds pretty cool. So let's try neck and middle. Let's give this a go. Thanks for watching, folks. This is Shane. So what do I think about this amp overall? It's very, very versatile, being that you get those two exact channels. You can essentially dial in the second one exactly the same with a bit more volume and a bit more drive. So it's like basically having a pedal on or off. I think that's a really great option. You could run it like that, or you could run it completely different. Just depends on, you know, how you want to use it. But the way I would use it is to set them up pretty much identically, which is what I do with my Marshall DSL-40. I have both of those two crunch channels set up the same. The second one with just a little bit more volume and a little bit more drive. Now, in terms of tone, I really dug the high gain channel, which was surprising because I kind of avoided that up until shooting this video. And it was surprisingly great once I cranked up the master volume, which is inherent of a lot of these sort of tube amp or valve amps. Once you wind up the master volume, it tends to sound pretty great no matter what the amp is. But I noticed it became way more just rockin'. It just felt great to play, especially with the Flying V. I really like that tone. Now, in terms of that middle channel being the drive channel, that's the one that I've used live with this amplifier, and I liked it, and I ran a boost pedal into it and it seemed to respond really, really nicely. It just lacks a little bit of low-end bloom, and it's nothing that you can really get back into the amplifier just by cranking up the bass. It doesn't really seem to affect that channel as much as how it affects the clean channel, and also the high gain channel. It seems to be a bit more responsive with the EQ section. Now, I've tried this live and it's a very sort of focused sound. It doesn't really have the biggest bloom like a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe or anything like that. It is a very different type of sound to that, and most people who will be looking for this won't be wanting a Hot Rod Deluxe, I know that much. But it still doesn't sound anywhere near as big as my Marshall in terms of just the throw of sound. Like I said earlier, I think the clean channel is reminiscent a little bit of a Princeton or a Deluxe Reverb. It has that kind of sound, but maybe not quite as nice. It's good, and it's very usable, and some people will probably prefer that kind of clinical, kind of clean tone a little bit more over the big bloom of a Fender amplifier's clean, or even the Marshall's clean, which sort of has a big sort of throw of sound. I think it's a very classy clean tone. Probably not something I would use a whole lot of unless I was a pedal player, and then I would just use the clean channel all day, or even that second channel responds well with pedals too. And I've tried it out playing live, like I said, and I think that's probably the best option if you're a pedal player, either the clean channel or that middle channel. You'll definitely get some good results, at least with sort of blues rock stuff. Now, if you want to rock out, this amp will do it. That high gain channel is so much fun. I really enjoyed using it, especially on the intro track. The solo tone was just singing. The sustain was great. It does get compressed, but one thing I really love about this, and it's something that I didn't really mention, is you can switch all three channels with your EQ setup and it's usable. That's pretty rare. Most amps that have more than two channels, you've really got to re-EQ stuff when you switch, which totally sucks. This is usable, but I do feel like sometimes the bass drops out of it on certain settings on the channel switches. So just keep that in mind. But overall, these amps are cool. For me personally, I don't know if I would buy an amplifier like this, because I would probably still run it on the clean channel on the most part and use pedals. I have other amplifiers for that, but if you're a pedalless player and you want versatility in three channels, but then also having that replicated on the other side of the amplifier, this is a really great choice. It makes it more versatile than your conventional amplifier with just one channel or one strip of controls. You can essentially run the second channel identically or louder, like I mentioned. So it gives you plenty of options like that. And massive thanks to my friend Dave K, who you've seen on the podcast and on the YouTube channel a few times, probably, hopefully, unless you're new here, for letting me borrow this. I really appreciate it. I'll be taking this back up on Sunday night to him, and it is an absolute little cool amplifier. I dig it. But yeah, just be aware, I don't feel like this is a loud 50 watts by any stretch of the imagination. When I played it live, I had it cranked and then I had pedals going into it, and it still didn't have the throw of sound I was used to. I would put it on par volume-wise with about the Artist Tweed Tone 20, which is a 20 watt amp. So yeah, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with it or anything like that. It's just definitely not as loud as some of my other amps in the collection, but overall pretty cool. Let me know what you think of the tones. Thanks again for watching. Massive thanks to Dave again for letting me borrow it, and I'll catch you soon. See ya.